Okay, so, hello, I'm here. I made it. I'm a little later than I want to be because I had some other things to figure out, but I am here. And, one of the things I will definitely say right off the bat is, I need to buy some mineral spirits now. Um, I went ahead and did as suggested and let them kind of dry overnight, and they're exceptionally dirty looking. Hey Jesse, how's it going? These guys, unfortunately, I need to get me some mineral spirits. This is them not quite 24 hours later. They're still kind of sticky to the touch where it's pulled, and this is far dirtier than I wanted them to be. So, I'm going to have to buy myself some mineral spirits and get that fixed up. The other thing about this in particular is that this is the one that I actually rinsed off and then dabbed off. So, this is one of the better looking of the models. Going pretty okay. Just happy to be back, happy to be streaming again. I just had to fix some stuff on my 3D printer and it's all good. But like this is what one of them looked like that I didn't rinse off. And everything is sticky. He's got this shine which was to be expected, but like literally everything is sticky. And he's just far too messy. And I really don't want to continue with him looking like this. So what's going to happen, which is actually going to be kind of neat, is I'm going to buy myself some mineral spirits, and I can actually use a Q-tip, and I can gently kind of wipe off a lot of the excess and only keep it in the crevices where it's going to look real good. And while it did get some really neat shading, like you can see some really cool transitioning here as it kind of peeled away, it's way too dark and it's way too muddy. So I can't keep them like this. To give you an idea of what I'm going for, this is closer to what the rest of my models look like. This is a Imperial Fist Tactical Sergeant, and you can see that he was definitely given a washover, but then he was given some highlights and some other things were done to him, or maybe not. There we go. But as you can see, this guy next to him just way too dark. Really looks like I just dumped him in motor oil. So that's not going to work out. I'm going to need to do some things with this guy and with 10 of them and try and make sure they look much better. Also, I'm kind of disappointed that it stayed really grossly pooled on the base, because now it looks like I just have oil spills all over the base, which is supposed to be just rock. You know what I mean? So hopefully I'll be able to fix that up. Which, to be honest, I have no doubt that I'll be able to fix that up. But, I'm not going to deal with that today. Instead, what I'm going to do, which may not be the most interesting thing in the world, is I was working on some faces this morning. And faces are very difficult to paint if you do it the artistic way. They're more fun to paint otherwise. If you are painting them, if you are just trying to get them painted so that they look good on the tabletop, then painting faces is a heck of a lot of fun and they end up looking pretty darn good. But these are going to be like centerpiece display models, so I want the faces to look as clean and detailed as possible. I actually, earlier today, did kind of an example for Tabiko, who's not here right now, but he was having some issues with his paint and trying to figure out like why is this so difficult? Painting minis shouldn't be this hard. And I agree with him. So I made a quick tutorial and I finished painting this guy a little bit. I went ahead and painted his skin, which was done with 2 thin coats, and you can see it turned out pretty good. But like I've mentioned before, it ends up looking really flat if you kind of leave it at that. So the next thing that you'd want to do is they have stuff called a wash. And I think I've talked about it before, but like Citadel has Reikland Flesh Shade, right? And Reikland Flesh Shade is their flesh wash. It's kind of a reddish, pinkish undertone. And all you really do with it to try and bring out some more depth to the model is wet your brush a little bit, get some of the Reikland Flesh Shade onto it, and then you just kind of start putting it all over the mini. And what it'll do for you is it'll start filling in the crevices and the low spots on the Mini, and that'll really exaggerate the shading, kind of like it just did on his ear. And after that dries in about 10-15 minutes, you can go back and repaint the high spots that you actually want to be brighter, right? So in his case, I don't want it as much in his eyes as I got it in his eyes, so I'm going to dry off my brush, pull that out of his eyes, but keep it everywhere else. And now what you'll see with the Mini is that it really does a good job of accentuating the low spots on him. And when I go back later and I hit it with the same flesh tone on the high spots, you're going to see a very deep contrast between the low spots of his flesh and the high spots. And kind of in the hand too, you see how it's kind of really highlighting the separation in the knuckles, and apparently some air bubbles I've got. And same on this hand, all of it kind of blends together until you get the flesh shade in there, and it pulls down in the low spots of his hands and really brings out some of those tones on him. And like I said, eventually it'll all dry and settle in, and when that happens I can go back and I can continue painting him as I want. Eventually I think I'm just going to strip this model and do it over again, because I really don't like how some of it looks. This was made out of a special kind of thermoplastic that's starting to be sold to miniature paint or miniature producers, and so his details are kind of both really detailed and not, and I kind of want to bring out as much of that as I can by painting him myself, as opposed to doing the slap chop method of like priming him and then hitting him with speed paint. So he'll eventually get a much better speed paint to him, or a much better paint job to him. But right now I'm just kind of using him as a practice dummy whenever I want to show you guys technique. But like I was saying, right now what I'm doing is I'm starting to paint this guy, which is Rogal Dorn, and I'm going to also start painting Fulgrim's head. And I started doing this morning before I got into a conversation with Tabiko about painting. And so these guys started with a very dark purple kind of base coat, and they're going to be built up into a much brighter flesh tone. So given that I like Rogal more, I'm probably going to set him aside, and I'm going to work on making Fulgrim's face really damn pretty. So to go from that, what I'm probably going to need to do, now that I think about it, I'm going to transition between colors here. Let's see. And we'll see how this looks, because I'm still kind of learning how to appropriately paint flesh, because it's not very easy. But we're going to go ahead and make that really dark purple that I made this morning, which was a black and a purple mix. So a little bit of model color black, and a little bit of model color royal purple. We're going to mix that together to get something akin to that skin tone that I started with, and then I'm going to build up to a much brighter color, which unfortunately may not be the most interesting painting unless you enjoy seeing a fairly flat looking face morph into a much more detailed looking face. But that's what I'm going to do. And eventually, if I decide I really want to, I'm going to continue painting the Warthog that I was painting. Well, not really a Warthog, it's not a Halo thing. It's a Primaris Invader ATV, which is a Warhammer model, but it harkens back to like the Puma from Red vs. Blue from like a decade ago. And since I'm not using it in my army, I want to go ahead and make a neat little diorama with it. So I've made the dark purple, which is like that now. It almost looks black because of the lighting. But I'm going to take that, and I'm going to mix that, blend a little bit with this Vallejo model color brown rose, and that will allow me to slowly build up until I have a good flesh tone for them. And then since it's Fulgrim and he's a little more fair-faced, I'm going to take this pale sand and use this as a highlight, which is going to be close to a white, but not quite there. It's going to be a warm white. Hopefully this will turn out okay. I always struggle with faces until I give up and I'm done with faces, and then I look at them again and realize I did an okay job. because it always looks so easy when you watch like the really skilled painters do it on the YouTubes, and then when you try and do it and it looks nothing like it, you're like, geez Louise, I wish I could be better at this. I give up. He's gonna look terrible. Then you go back after a few hours and you're like, you know what, he doesn't look half bad. And suddenly your paint job is good. So especially if you decide to start painting, which it sounds like you were interested in, definitely don't be overly critical with yourself. Your paint jobs will improve. You will get better as you continue doing it, and your paint jobs are probably fine as is. It's just that you've been focusing in on it so much that you can't really enjoy the paint job and appreciate it. So keep that in mind when you start painting. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and paint up his forehead a little bit and leave only the very darkest spots on him in that dark purple, because too strong a contrast is going to be bad. So he's going to get almost an entire all over with this purple pink mix, this purple rose brown mix, I guess they were calling it. And then I'm going to go back and hit him with lighter and lighter highlights until he has a full-on, proper skin tone. And this is not something most casual painters do. So if you're playing D&D, you're probably not going to see people paint their minis to this level. This is something that, like, competition painters do, or people who really want their minis to look beautiful. And since I'm kind of painting as a skill and as an art form, I really want my minis to look beautiful. Know what I mean? So that's what I'm working on right now. And I do gotta say, I am incredibly impressed with the level of detail that my new 3D printer was able to eke out of such a tiny model. Because I'm getting to the point now, especially with like this guy, where I'm going to need to buy myself a good magnifying lens. Because I kind of can't make out what I'm doing even with all the light on him. And most of that is because I am in need of a magnifying lens. Okay. So that's gonna look okay. Pull all that down. A little bit of it under there. Get his neck, actually. I'm not gonna be able to reach his neck for much longer. And so what's going to happen is this kind of lighter purple is going to become the actual shadow that I'm going to use for most of his face. And like I said, I'm only leaving the darkest purple for the really stark shade underneath everything. Okay. So now we see he's a slightly lighter color. He's still nowhere near human looking just yet, but we're going to get him there. We're going to mix in a little more of the brown rose into the purple mix, which will bring it up a full shade. And now we can start getting some really nice highlights. We can start really highlighting things like his nose and his eyes and his forehead. And that's where it's going to start looking closer to like human skin tones versus the really crazy dark purple that I went for. And hopefully I won't ruin it too badly. Okay, that light is not going to be strong enough. There we go. I think I might have gone a little too high there because it really looks like he's struggling a bit. Yep, the eye area. That's going to be okay. Okay, I'm going to keep hitting all these spots. Really try and bring up some of that color. My mic isn't still muted, is it? Nope, it's still good. Okay, cool. I temporarily mute my mic when I set up, so I forgot whether or not I unmuted it. But yeah, and you can kind of see now he's starting to get some more colors, even though right now they're very garish. Let's see. there. One there. And hopefully this will all start kind of unifying as I continue working on him. And as it continues getting brighter, it'll start looking more like a flesh tone and less like a overly pink, fleshed out face. Yeah, that is a considerably brighter pink than what I may have wanted to do. And I guess the beautiful part is because these layers are so thin, if I heck up, if I screw up, I could just kind of paint all over it and go again. But right now, it's about trying to find the high spots on his face and giving more light, more detail to those. Actually, I can go a little darker. Let's blend that together. See if I can, at least. Yeah, there we go. And what I can do from there is go back to the lighter color, hopefully. And that will allow me to take his cheekbone back to where it was. And now we have a slightly better blend of colors going on. Now, part of the thing with this model that makes it really difficult, at least for me, is that this was actually intended to be a much bigger model. I shrank it down so that I could get it to tabletop playing size. You know what I mean? Because originally this model was meant to be a display model, so it was sized to be much larger than it is. It's actually at, I want to say, 55% height or size compared to what it was. So everything is considerably smaller than it would have been otherwise. It's almost half the size of what it was intended to be printed at. And again, that was purely because I want this to be a tabletop model that I can play with when I play Warhammer with my friends. But we'll see how that turns out. A little bit down there. Hey Snowtwig, how's it going? Good to see you. I am struggling to paint Fulgrim's face because I always struggle to paint faces. They never go easy, you know what I mean? They always give me a bit of grief, and it always ends up looking like crap until I stop and then I step away from it, and then I come back and I realize, you know, I didn't do that bad a job. I can be a little nicer to myself. So that's kind of what's happening now, is I'm kind of fighting some of the Stark shadows and how dark I initially made him. Because you can probably clearly see who's Fulgrim again. He's a Primus. He was a Primarch. He was one of the original 18 creations of the Emperor that led the different chapters. At the time, they were called legions during the Great Crusade. He's the one who fell to Slaanesh because of the Cursed Blade, which made him go all about excess and perfection and debauchery and all that fun stuff. I think one of the first times you started watching me, I was painting the a larger version of him, and that got me on kind of a long-winded conversation about him. Oh no, he's coming off of the thing is coming off of the thing, but I like him because he the way I heard him described a couple weeks ago was probably the best way I've ever heard him described. He's like the bottom of the upper class of nobility, so he's right on that skirting of being nobility and just being like a commoner. And because of that, he's got this constant desire to fit in with the nobility, right? And so he thinks things like the Habsburg jaw is fashionable, and does his best to try and mimic it. That would be him if he were a noble from our era versus, you know, a Primarch. He constantly wants to be the most beautiful, the most aesthetic, the most like graceful and all the stuff that you would think. He just wants to show that he belongs and that he's as good as everyone else,
And to do that, he feels like he needs to have his army, he has to have his legion represent like exemplars of what it means to be an Astartes and what it means to be a Space Marine. So they're always intricately decorated. They've got, you know, beautiful armor and all their formations look beautiful, and it's a lot of ridiculousness in that fashion. He'd be the guy that like superhero or like Ginyu Force poses his way to victory. It can't just be effective, it also has to be cool. And I just find that very funny. And of course the fact that he falls so hard and just becomes this horrifying villain or a demon of excess and all that grossness just makes it even better. So that's kind of what I'm working with this character, and it's like, why would anyone like him? Why would anyone want to like him? And it's not like I want to be like him. It's more like he's just such a perfect villain. He's everything you look for in a good villain. He's over dramatic, he's corny, he has like a very clear idea of what he wants to be because of his insecurities. He's like Team Rocket if they were even worse at their job, but also committed war crimes. And for me, that's absolutely hilarious. So I really like Fulgrim. I think he's a great character. I wish I could see what the heck I was doing, but he's just so dang tiny that I can't make out some of the things I should be working on. And I think I'm having that problem again like I've had before, where like I said, he's so tiny and that I feel like I'm messing up parts because I can't really see what they are, and since he's missing, you know, his eyes and his hair, it looks worse than it actually is. And so I'm frantically trying to fix things that really don't need fixing, you know what I mean? But yeah, the creator who did this model also did one of Rogel Dorn, who is hands down my favorite Primarch. Rogel Dorn is amazing in a lot of different ways, and it's mainly just because he's like the symbol of stoicism. He had a great bit where he was arguing with Alfarius, who is like the Primarch of the Assassins and the Subterfuge and that Legion, who was really, really good at that kind of thing. Why does his lower lip look like it's jutting so badly? Did I just miscolor his lips? I can't even tell anymore. I think I might have miscolored his face. But there was a great moment where he was arguing with Rogel Dorn was arguing with Alfarius, and he was trying to argue that the way Alfarius took the planet, which involved having like all of the leaders assassinated by servants that had been like deep state plants by the Alpha Legion and Alfarius's people. Rogel Dorn was really upset at that because now the people who surrendered were going to resent them. And we're going to be really, really angry at them because the way that they took the planet was by killing all of the leaders that were fairly beloved. So the one that was left alive was never going to be loyal to him. And it was like dishonorable and whatnot. And Alfarius tries to be high-minded. He's like, oh, please, Rogel. Like, it would have been any better if you had just been allowed to go on your great military campaign and cause millions to die through warfare. Would that have been much better? And Rogel's just like, yes. No hesitation in his voice, no self-doubt. And I mean, all of them are horrible, horrible people, don't get me wrong. So it's just kind of enjoying, gosh, his face, his mouth is terrible. It's just kind of enjoying some of the aspects of them that you personally like. And for him, it's his just general stubbornness and directness. And then with Alfarius, he decides to... Oh man, the right side of his face is all kinds of screwy. I don't know how to fix that. He decides to school Alfarius in his own game. He's like, I'm even more disappointed that the way you did this was sloppy. If you had done XYZ, then you would have saved yourself a lot of trouble, and we would have been able to take the planet even sooner. And so the fact that even though Rogel Dorn hates the way that this man fights and hates all the deception and the lies and everything else that makes Alfarius and the Alpha Legion so badass, it doesn't mean that he doesn't understand what they do or why they do it. Yeah, his face, his mouth, maybe it's because of the angles I'm looking at it. It's getting all kinds of messed up now. So what I might end up having to do with this to fix it is strip his mouth a little bit. Because otherwise he's starting to kind of get a Grinch face to him where his upper lip is very much overlapping the rest of his face. At least from one side. Okay, so... No, I think I still see it. Maybe. Maybe. I can hit it again. To try and bring out, because looking at it from the front is what's messing with me. Looking at it from the side, I can see how far back his mouth goes. It actually kind of goes around like so, into like this half smirk. Unfortunately, right there is where the trouble is. And right now I'm just kind of making it worse for myself. And again, this is the problem with fiddling with something so small, is you end up having all these little areas that you kind of muss and fuss over that no one's really going to notice, especially if you do a good enough job. That's okay. I think I'm going to leave it at that and work with more highlights. Because I feel like I've been hitting the same places of his face over and over and over. But now, I'm going to go ahead and add some brighter color, some pale sand to the... pale sand? A warm off-white to the fleshy pink that I'm using to make him more fair-skinned. Because between the two of them, Fulgrim is definitely more fair-skinned than Rogel Dorn. Rogel Dorn is swarthier looking. So hopefully I'll be able to make this work, and I won't be making more trouble for myself in the long run. Okay, so let's go ahead and work on the forehead again. That might be too bright. Okay, let's see. Is that gonna do it? It's definitely a brighter forehead color. It might not be bright enough, but I suppose we'll find out. But you can clearly see that just lit up his forehead like the 4th of July, so hopefully it will be enough to bring him out of this awkward, corpsey looking phase that I've got him in. He does look very gaunt and drawn right now, and that's not what we're going for. Okay, let's add a little bit more. Try and get that mixed in. Let's see what I can do here. That's really weird that on one side, and it might just be the job I did, on one side, the cheek kind of terminates a little bit further back. And on the other side, it definitely doesn't. I think that was more my doing than anything. I refuse to blame the sculpt. The sculpt is beautiful. And yeah, you kind of see there what I mean when I say that one is incredibly bright. I might need to do some blending back and forth until I can get this to sit a little better on his face. Something else that would probably help is instead of just putting him on this little bit of putty, which is rapidly deteriorating in my hands, if I had gone ahead and actually like glued him in place. Which is something people will do. They'll like drill out the base of the neck. Hey Red, how's it going? Just building? Well, from what it sounded like, you had a whole lot to build, so I'm glad that you're getting time to do that. I'm right now debating whether or not I'm ruining Fulgrim's face. Oh man, I forgot to change the title of this stream. I am definitely not working on Flyboys. I showed them earlier. They are not looking good. I'm definitely going to need to play with some spirits, some mineral spirits once I get that to fix how badly mucked up they are. So hopefully I'll be able to do that shortly. Okay, let's go ahead and bring some of that back in here. Because yeah, unfortunately, Mr. Fulgrim's looking kind of corpsey. I might have gone too dark and not built up enough to lightness yet. And I mean, you can pretty much see it. It doesn't help that his eyes look really bad. Nice hair shadows? Yeah, thank you. That was the easiest part, because that was just zenithal priming. I hit him with a black, and then I hit him with a thin layer of pale sand, and that highlighted it properly. Very little effort on my part. Let's see what I can do here to bring some of this back out. Some of that. Some of that. Right now, I am just trying my best to bring this guy out of the dark shadows that he's got and into some kind of light for his face and chin and jaw. He's actually a very intricately detailed model. And, like I said, I shrunk him down, which kind of ruined, not ruined, but it definitely made a lot of his facial features kind of shrink down in a way that are fairly difficult to try and highlight out with someone of my skill level. Which is to say, not a lot. But I will do the best I can to make him look good. And again, another issue that I'm having is that I have yet to fill in his eyes, and so those are giving him kind of a gaunt appearance also, which is not really helping with the whole look. So hopefully, between filling out the eyes and giving him actual eyeballs, he ends up looking more humanoid and less Michael Jackson-y from Thriller. If you know what I mean. Because right now he's got some really strong Michael Jackson and his zombie outfit vibes going for me. Let's see what I can do in here, because his grin is looking less like a smirk and more messy by the minute. I've got too many colors kind of lining and clashing with each other, and that's a problem. Okay, that's gonna have to do for now, I think. Where is his... Oh, there is his eyes. So we're gonna go ahead and make that unify there, make that unify there, and that just leaves his very, very dark eyes to play with. And I don't even know if I can hit those. They're so tiny. They're in such a small space for the brush that I have. So what I think I'm gonna do is I think I'm going to try and oh no, oh dear. You can see you. Hey Risky Paints, how's it going? Good to see you. I am right now fighting Fulgrim. I made this a very tiny head, and it's giving me a little bit of umbrage as I try and make it not look terrible. I've done one of these before, but it's been a while. And because of that, I've kind of forgotten how I did it. I'm right now trying to give him some eyes to get rid of that really deep corpsey look he's got. Doing okay. Feeling better than I have in a while. I was dealing with some not heart issues, but some like chest and lung issues. Had some minor
exploratory surgery. Found out that my heart is fine, and so now they're basically telling me I probably just have adult onset asthma, and I needed major or minor surgery to learn that. But kind of trying to get back into the streaming thing because it's been a while since I've done so. Right now, I got an 8K printer, and I'm trying to paint this Fulgrim to not look like a Zimby. Because I printed a smaller version out, a slightly smaller one, to see if the 8K printer could really do better than the 2K one that I was working on and finished. And now I'm working on painting him, but unfortunately he's a slightly smaller model, and that is causing me some umbrage. That actually didn't end up looking too bad, so I'm not too mad at that. One moment. Where'd the other one go? Where's other Fulgrim? Other Fulgrim's over there. Oof. So, this was the original one I did. And yeah, that one ended up looking pretty darn good, actually. I was able to capture a lot more of the features on his face. This one, looking a little rough. He looks a little bit more demonic, which actually might work out, because I was planning on making a little diorama of Fulgrim and Dorn facing off during the Saturnine novel. Thank you. That was the other one. The one I'm working on now is a smidge smaller, considerably more detailed, given the printer being considerably better. But I think for this one, I'm going to want him to look a little more demonic, and I'm going to lean into how kind of weird and gaunt and crimson I accidentally made him. So what I think is going to happen now is I'm going to continue mixing in the pale sand, and I'm going to continue trying to highlight them. So I might actually need to brighten up his shadows a little bit so that they're not so much of a contrast. And I think I can live with that. So I'm going to consider this episode an example of a bad painter turning lemons into lemonade. Not all paint jobs are going to end up how you want them to, so the best you can do is work with them and hope they turn out better in the meantime. So, let's see. Now, the one I'm really excited to paint is the guy who made this Fulgrim 3D art guy did a Rogel Dorn, and I think I've mentioned it a few times now, but that's just because I'm so dang excited to paint him. It looks great. I was kind of a lame ass, and I went ahead and reused the text-to-speech Rogel Dorn head that I've had for a while now, but I feel like that one is such a definitive Rogel Dorn that I feel like using any other one is just wrong. You know what I mean? And so, every Rogel Dorn that I've painted has used the text-to-speech one, the text-to-speech head. And honestly, it's such a perfect face. I don't feel like you can really improve on it because the creator did such a darn good job. Right now, he's got a deep coat on him. So, one moment, let me. Okay. But the level of detail, especially in comparison to like the one that Games Workshop put out, is unmatched. It looks absolutely gorgeous, and I can't wait to start painting it. But I just absolutely love like the old beard head that he has going on. So I'm going to keep playing with that. But that one's next. That's after I finish the Fulgrim face. Or at least get to a point where I'm happy with it. Which is actually approaching very rapidly because I don't know what I did just now other than not look at it for a second, but it really does look better. So I'm going to wet blend in some more shadows. And then I'm going to take it all away with more layers of lighter color. And hopefully it's going to look okay. Back to the lighter color. See what I can do here. Mix that in. And yes, this is a considerably brighter. Mix that in. Go down a little bit more. Actually, one moment. I wonder, can I just hit this a little bit? Mix that in, and
blend a little bit from that dark purple closer to where that is. Yeah. And I'll just take this, pull it down a little bit, and then blend back in with the pale sand and the rose gold. Oh, that didn't turn out how I wanted it to. That's okay. Learning experiences. Okay. I think I need to find a better way of getting to the midtones of these. That's where it's starting to fall apart, is once I get to the midtones, I start struggling a bit. Okay. A little bit more. Mix right here. Mix, darn you. Make a paler pink for me, please. There we go. I can use this hook just a little bit. There we go. That's hitting the notes a little better than where I thought they'd be. He's even got the dopey cleft chin. I really like this model so much. Okay. Sorry, I don't even know if that was in focus. I was so focused in on it that I wasn't paying attention to the camera at all. He's getting there. He's not where I wanted to be yet, but he's getting there. I think I might take a break on him in a second and start working on Rogal Dorn, because I definitely don't want to overdo it with this guy. Oh, those eyes are looking a wee bit unhinged. I can dig it. I can deal with it. And yeah, for those who don't know, for those who have not kept up with the Siege of Terra, one of the things that Fulgrim does with his troop is he takes the entirety of the Emperor's Children, his legion, to the Saturnine Wall. I think it's the Saturnine Wall. I always forget the names because they throw so many names and proper nouns and locations at you that I've kind of lost track. But they assault a main wall, and they try and take it at great personal loss. And Rogal Dorn stops him. Rogal Dorn steps out and duels him. And Fulgrim tries to do the whole, look around you, you fool, your walls are in shambles, and blah, 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 blah. And he really tries to hit Rogal hard with the, I'm so much better than you speech. And Rogal is just not having it. Every time, Fulgrim tries to start speaking, Rogal Dorn just, like, whacks him and hits him, and again, as they're dueling. He will not let this man get across his ideas, to the point where at one point Fulgrim is literally just screaming at him, damn it, Rogal, look around, stop fighting me and pay attention to what I'm telling you. And Rogal just kind of keeps telling him, no, I will not. And eventually he's like, no, you look around, you idiot. It took you your entire legion to take this fortification, and it should have taken you a fourth of that force. You've actively allowed yourself to be used by the enemy so that they could do something else that's also failed, and now you've got nothing to show for it. And he does so as he's, like, procedurally slaughtering Fulgrim. He's just beating the piss out of him. And eventually Fulgrim decides, I'm done with this, I'm not going to be made a fool of, and he just leaves. And, yeah, that'll have to do for now. And so that's when the Emperor's Children kind of decide they're done with the Siege of Terra, they're done playing games, they want to go home, and they just start ignoring everything that happens and just start slaughtering the citizens of the Imperium. Which is definitely not okay, but it just shows you how badly browbeaten he was by Rogal Dorn. So my plan is that I'm going to eventually put these guys on, like, a little diorama of them facing off against each other right before that scene happens. because the original Rogaldorn, the original model of him that Forge World did, he's just kind of standing there on top of a pile of rubble looking very commanding, which is great, don't get me wrong, but the version I'm printing, he has, or that I've printed, he has a big-ass shield and his big chainsword that I can use just to make him look, you know, freaking fantastic. So this is going to have to do right now for Fulgrim. I don't want to keep poking and prodding at him, potentially to lose even more detail. Actually, wait a minute. I think I want to see if I can get him one layer fairer. I want to see if I can get some highlights to make him look even more pale. Come on. There we go. Put him down. Let's see if I can do this without ruining him, because this is where I struggle, is like highlight placement. Come on, highlights, you can do it. And as previously talked about, highlights are very important. Where you place the highlights can determine, you know, really how good or how bad the model looks. And unfortunately, I'm really bad at placing them, so I am playing with fire here, trying to make Fulgrim's face have a little bit more personality to it than what it currently has. Oh, this is really out of focus. Oh my god. One squad built. Congratulations. When you're done with that at some point, when you finish building your squads, you're going to have to take pictures and put them on the showcase in the Twitch chat, or in the not the Twitch chat, the whatchamacallit. Gosh dang, the I can do this. The Discord. There it is. A little bit more out here. A little bit more out here. A little bit of his, not his jowl, but like his little, the first corner of his lip. First corner of his lip. There we go. Not great, but it'll do. Okay, when they're all painted, yeah, that's gonna look so good. I can't wait to see that, because you've been working on that as long as I've known you. Wow. He's kind of got a Rocky Balboa look because of how badly I messed up the right side of his face. He's got like a really nasty sneer going on. But it's going to look good when it's all done. And hopefully it'll look good as part of the rest of the model. I think, just for funsies, I'm going to hit some highlights on his hair and on his, apologies for that, and on his eyebrows, just to try and bring up some of the light, and hopefully make his eyebrows look a little less fat, because I messed that up too. But hopefully what that'll do is let me say I'm done with him, because I really don't want to mess him up much anymore. I mean, I'm probably going to look at him tomorrow and be like, my goodness, I did a good job. But right now, all I can see is the screw-ups. So, you know, where I mispainted or where I misplaced a brush, whatever. So hopefully tomorrow, I'll be able to look at some of the spots on him and go, wow, that actually looks really darn good. But right now, his hair is getting some highlights. And hopefully, this will help accentuate just how much of it there is. A little bit there, a little bit there. Just almost like a dry brush smattering to try and really sell the tips of some of his hair. A little bit there. Is that a support? Oops. No one will know. No one has to know. Okay, so one right there. Couple little ones right there. There you go. Now he definitely has some more depth to his hair. So that's gonna go. I'm gonna put him off to the side. And by that I mean I'm gonna rip him out of the smudge.
And we're gonna see how he looks in his little nubbin. Nubbin! I feel like I'm putting Darth Vader's helmet on. So, uh-oh. Is there like a thing? There's probably something in here that's preventing him from sitting flush. But essentially, that's what he'll look like. Yeah, he definitely has a more stern look on his face than the other one I did. And also, now he's got that kind of like anime hooligan look going on, where he's got his head lolled off to the side. But yeah, this is going to be a good model. I think now that I'm looking at him more closely here, I can kind of play with him a bit. But he looks a lot less bad than I thought he did a minute ago. So that's definitely a positive. So I'll get to painting that Fulgrim body at some other point. In the meantime, I'm going to see if I can work on Rogel Dorn. I'm going to do something. Took James and Nathan to the youth center today. They're supposed to be playing snooker, but ended up with them taking the piss out of each other. Took them to Nando's for some food, and they ended up tapping me for $50 each, or 50 pounds each. Good gravy. That sounds like you had a very expensive time. I'm not overly familiar with snooker. If I recall right, it's a modified, it's a variation of pool, right? And from what it sounds like, that wasn't something that they were too focused on or too interested in. And I've actually never been to Nando's. I don't know what a Nando's is. Based on it, it sounds like some kind of restaurant, but not one that I'm familiar with. Okay, we're gonna mix all that together. Like a huge blobby wet mess. Dilute down the paint on my wet palette. And then I'll pick it all back up in a second. So I did have a little bit of a laugh. I noticed that when I look back at my messages on the Discord, or on OBS, I noticed that right after I signed off, apparently someone else decided to raid me. So I got raided right as I was clicking off. Those poor people. But, you know, it happens. Just something I got to deal with. And I also think it's almost time for me to replace the sheet, because I think it's getting kind of wasted. Okay, what has happened here? Oh, very cool. Nice pictures. Nice, good-looking kids. Hopefully they had fun. That's all you can really ask for, right? Okay. I'm going to mix this up. This is Cadian Flesh Tone. I have a feeling that this is going to be a lot closer to the color that I'm going to want for Mr. Rogel Dorn. So, I'm going to go ahead and use this. And unfortunately, I really messed up, and I put... Actually, I'm going to let this really mix up. I put way too much flow improver in here when I first transferred it over to the bottle. So the Cadian Flesh Tone is going to end up being very runny and very thin. And that's not going to be a good combination of things for painting, because it's going to be too much. But I may be able to use this to my advantage, because I painted Rogel Dorn with a very, very deep purple. And so I can very thinly layer it back up to the Cadian Flesh Tone color, if I'm careful. I know I've said careful like 5 times, but, you know, whatever. It's got an agitator ball in it, so hopefully me agitating the heck out of it like I just did will help this stuff flow a little better and be a little bit more useful. Okay, let's try and make Rogel Dorn look like Rogel Dorn. Now, if anyone doesn't know what he looks like in the typical 40k setting, he's clean shaven. The hair, the beard is entirely fan canon. It was made up for if the Emperor had a text-to-speech device. When they decided that instead of, well, he had been lost. According to the lore, he had been lost. He was lost on a ship of heretics, and in the old lore, he was just killed. Like, the heretics ganged up on him, too many of them were there, too many cultists, and Rogel Dorn just, like, fell. And they tore up his body, and they couldn't really recover much of him. I think all they recovered was his hand or something. And new lore later changed that. They basically decided that he was never found, his body was never recovered. Instead, all they were able to find on that ship was his hand. And so, the Imperial Fists became a chapter that would use, like, his hand. They devoted themselves
to Rogel Dorn's, I think, left hand, and new chapter masters' names would be carved onto the hand as a form of like ritual. And they became really into scrimshawing, which, if I recall properly, is bone carving. And yeah, that became part of the Imperial Fist culture, but they decided to retcon him so that no body was ever found. And so that opens up the possibility that Rogel Dorn could come back to the setting. But to deal with that, in If the Emperor Had a Text-to-Speech Device, they decided that Rogel Dorn left his hand on the ship using the Magic Pain Glove, which is an actual thing, though not how they presented it. And he was so ashamed of failing the Emperor at the Siege of Terra that he decided to just wander the halls of the Imperial Palace in silence for 10,000 years in a set of Centurion armor. Which is really dumb in a lot of ways, and is very clearly not true, but it allowed him to come back to the setting, at least for text-to-speech, and become a character. Where he very quickly became my favorite character, because the way they portray him, the way they show him, is a very comedic take on how he was in the lore, because Rogel Dorn was known as being like brutally honest and forthright and stern, and all of that together was just very funny when it's taken to the logical extreme of him being more literal than Drax in Guardians of the Galaxy. And so I greatly appreciated that humor that they brought to him, and it made me a Fist fan. And so I definitely greatly enjoy that version of him, which is the one that has the pork chop sideburns that you see here. Okay, I'm going to need a little bit of a lighter color. I need to get myself some more variant flesh tones, because the ones I have are just not very good. So we're going to take some of the pale sand once again, and we're going to mix it into the Cadian flesh tone, which should do two things. One, give it more body, and two, lighten it up so that he's not this very swarthy looking color. I think actually what I want to do here is I don't want there to be that deep a contrast between him and the shadows under his cheeks leading to his beard, so I think I'm actually going to go ahead and hit that with a slightly lighter color, because that just seems like way too dark a contrast for me. Same with under his nose. And hopefully that will play out and just look a whole lot better. Because as you can see, the Cadian flesh tone is, as it says, it's actually a flesh tone, and so it's definitely got a lot more rich a color to it, with like a reddish underhue as opposed to the other one I was using. Right now it just looks like he's got some really gnarly eyeliner on, which I think is kind of neat. Okay, so I'm going to mix in some of that. And now we're going to go ahead and play a little bit with his forehead wrinkles. And we're going to do what we can to really bring out some of the differences in shadow between the front of his face and where the light would be hitting him versus everywhere else on his face. Okay, let's go ahead and hit that just a little bit. And I think next time I get online, I think my next goal is going to be to finish up the Warthog. I think I've put it off long enough, and as much fun as it would be to paint this Dorn, I've got other things in my docket. I don't really need to add another Rogel Dorn there. I painted one. Did that pic go through Discord? My Discord isn't showing, not letting me view other channels I'm in. The ones of you and your kids, yes. I'm not sure how comfortable I feel like showing your kids off on stream unless you really want me to. Because, you know, underage, consent, all that kind of stuff. If you're okay with it, I will gladly. Hey, Bahamut KOD, nice to see you. The head is Dorn from TTS. I found it an Indiegogo that was selling it, and I bought it. And apparently, shortly after I bought it, he ghosted like everyone else. So I got really, really lucky. But yeah, this specific head is Dorn from TTS. The body is from 3D Art Guy. And, I mean, you can see right here, the model's just absolutely gorgeous. I've already painted one version of him, which was a proxy of the Forge World version, that I really wanted. I didn't want to spend $140 for a Forge World version yet, but, I'm eventually going to do something like that. And I'll buy the real one, and I'm going to paint him up beautifully. The first one, though, I just kind of painted using metallics, and I wasn't able to get him as bright as I want him to be. So what I'm most likely going to do when I buy the real one is, now that I've had much more practice doing non-metallic metal, is I'm going to go ahead and paint it that way. He's going to get a non-metallic metal paint job. Well, I'm going to try my best. For example, I have a Fulgrim, which I've now shown off multiple times, but I have a Fulgrim that is from that same maker, and you can see the Fulgrim is like friggin' gorgeous. This was printed on a 2K printer many months ago. This one was printed on an 8K printer. So hopefully, I'm actually painting another Fulgrim that I have that's basically the same guy, but I kind of mangled the face, and I decided I was going to lean into it. So now that Fulgrim is going to be like the demon Fulgrim that's going to be facing off against Dorn. Yeah, right. He looks kind of like the lion, except apparently the guy who modeled him got the approval from Alphabusa and the text-to-speech guys, and so he very much is a Rogel Dorn character. And I mean, you can kind of see it with how he looks. He's got the fist on his knee. He's got the eagle coming off the shoulder, which is a very Rogel Dorn outfit. I do want the lion, and eventually I will get the lion. I really want to paint him. And actually, I'm hoping that via Auspex Tactics and his giveaways that I might be able to snag me a box. I will say, right now, with how this Dorn looks, the lack of eyes is absolutely terrifying. He is very upsetting to look at, so I'm going to have to go ahead and fix that, probably right now. But yeah, that's one of my next big goals is, I'm in the middle of printing and painting a Firstborn Imperial Fists army, just for funsies, and because I don't play competitive, so 3D printing one just seems like the cheaper option. But, gosh, what was I just saying? But, there are definitely things I want to print. There are definitely things I want to paint that I will purchase from Games Workshop, and one of them is the lion. I didn't know what to expect when I first saw that they were bringing back the lion. One moment, is that is Eyeball. But seeing what they were able to come up with, and seeing how the lion looks, I just remember waking up at like 4 in the morning and seeing that had dropped and just almost shitting myself. The salamanders, well, eventually, they're gonna put Vulcan Tushan through the Primaris Rubicon, and you're either gonna get a really, really cool Vulcan model, a Tushan model, or they're going to or they're just going to give him a new printed or a new resculpt, and the resculpt is going to be beautiful. I am a poor, stupid boy, and so the 10th edition rules changes look absolutely fantastic to me. My friends and I, we don't have time to really deeply collect into the 40k and really get a lot of time to play the game. So we kind of got overwhelmed by the sheer amount of bookkeeping required in 9th edition and switched over to one-page rules. And I still like 40k, and I still want to play 40k, but for us, for my play group, yes, put Histan in plastic. That's what it is. That's who it is, not Tushan. Tushan is the original Vulcan, right? But yeah, put Histan in plastic. He needs to be a plastic mini. I want to see a beautiful plastic Vulcan Histan. Okay. Oh my god, his eyelid. They put his eyelid in there and I can't reach it. Oh god, that looks horrifying. I don't think I like that. I converted a Dark Imperium Gravis Captain. I mean, that's all you can do at this point. It's a cool model, and turning him into a Salamander's Chapter Master is definitely not a bad option. Okay, what can I do here to make this less freaky? Because it looks like an eye fold is up there, and I kind of can't reach it. I wonder if I can just... Oh no! Tushan is the chapter master that interacted with Dante. Okay. Yeah, my 40k lore is 7 types of abysmal. I've been stuck in the Horus Heresy and that whole mess for a long time. One moment. I need to actually look at this. I'm struggling a bit. Okay, so I can't make out where his eye is supposed to stop, and Tushan is the chapter master, Histan is the Forge Father. Okay, you're gonna have to, and I would love for you to do this because I love learning new things. What is the difference between a Forge Father and a chapter master? Oh, that is a wide, terrifying, piercing eye. Oh man. The Forge Father is the one looking for the relics. Well, you know, they're going to find them eventually. Oh my god. He is now absolutely horrifying. Rogel Dorn has found Fulgrim, and he is pissed. That is a very intense stare for Rogel, and I dig it. I'm sorry, all I can think of in regards to the word Forge Father is from text to speech when Cato Sicarius drops off the last of the relics. And Histan just sees them and he starts going, yes, yes, I'm best Forge Father, yes. I really love the characterization of the salamanders in that, and of Vulcan in particular. I would like to pet this little creature. Okay. That ended up going over there? Yeah, that ended up... I travel. Okay, now with the eyes, he just looks very curious. The chapter master is the sovereign of Nocturne and overall leader of the chapter. Yeah, that makes sense. And they made a firstborn mini of Tushan, didn't they? I know that Adrax Agatone is the current, like, not chapter master or anything, but he's like the captain that they primarised, so that there was a Primaris captain model for the Salamanders, but like he was created almost specifically for the 8th edition supplemental codex, right? No, he wasn't. Adrax is the captain of the 3rd company. Yeah, that's what I meant. Like, I feel like, and of course I didn't start following the stuff until 9th edition, but I feel like he was created specifically for the Primaris line, right? Kind of like how Tor Garadon wasn't a character until suddenly he was for the Imperial Fists. Because they gave him a pretty cool backstory and whatnot, but it doesn't seem like these were characters that were heard from a whole lot prior to... You're finally painting it! Yeah, this guy a little bit. I'm working on it. And actually... if you give me a second, Mr. Bahamut. Yeah, those are the only 2 named characters. So hopefully they're going to give Histan and the Salamanders trilogy. Okay, I'm learning new things. Okay, so I think that actually looks really good. From a distance, that looks fantastic, and I'm happy with that. If you give me a second, I got something to show you. Where did the lad go? Speaking of Adrax Agatone, check this out. So, I got him as part of a trade for more Imperial Fist units, and I like him a lot. I think he's a fantastic looking character. Fought Trazen for a relic, oh my goodness. And I decided to paint him
and he was actually one of the first paint jobs I did where I started learning how to blend better. And so I think he's got some crazy good contrast and crazy good highlights, in my opinion. And I don't really have any use for him because I don't play salamanders, but I liked him enough that I wanted to paint him. And I got a friend who has salamanders, and he plays salamanders, but he's got his own Adrax that I got him as a gift. And unfortunately, he doesn't have the time to paint like I do, so I got mine done before him. But this one's mine. I'm really happy with how he turned out. He's a little dusty because he's been sitting on a shelf for a while and I don't have like a display case. Yeah, I think the salamanders are awesome. I still hate the fact that they got done so dirty by the Horus Heresy writers, but I really like them a lot just as characters. So yep, that is my Adrax Agatone, and someday he's going to be fielded and he's going to hurt someone, because this model is too cool otherwise. One moment, please. I think that was my signal that it's time to get off the streamies. I've got a couple guys like that, and since I'm about to go, potentially, I'll go ahead and give those a quick show off before I head off. Let's see. I set up a guillotine. Okay, yeah, it's about time for me to get the dinners. Fucking live! Stop! Yep, I agree. This makes me happy. This is a 3D print. This is of Jagatai Khan. And I really like this model, and I'm really happy with how he turned out, given how much I struggled with him. But just a neat model. I think he's really cool. Eventually, I'll finish painting him. I'm actually not done yet. I was going to do more with the back, because when I was painting him, I was still kind of learning about blending. I tried to do as much non-metallic metal and stuff on him as possible, and honestly, I think he looks better the further I get away from the initial paint job. So, can't be too mad. But the one that I'm really proud of, and I'm probably gonna end up giving this to a friend, is this Reboot Gilliman I did. I decided to learn how to do non-metallic metal with him. Yeah, he's gonna be straight out of Kamora with Kamara with a new Dark Eldar wife, right? I decided I was going to learn how to do non-metallic metal with this guy. So I spent like 2 straight days just painting him up and trying to get the non-metallic metal blends just right. And I saw someone do his sword like this instead of just, the bright yellow burning blade. And so I kind of liked how that looked better, so I ended up mimicking it. I know, right? Like straight out of Compton. I get you. So I'm really proud of this one just because it was such a fight to learn how to do what I thought was an impossible skill, and there he is. But yeah, it's probably time I get going. It sounds like it's time for dinner. So, oh my goodness. I'm sorry to hop off like right when you get here, but I need to go ahead and get dinner. Shukan Tekino Uso, thank you for the follow. I love your fire effects on the legs. You did the reflection awesome. Thank you. I really love object source lighting, and honestly, that was one of the easiest things to learn. And it looks so good when it's done right? And that was something I was really proud of. My most recent model that I did, that I just kind of absolutely love how it looks, is I did a Tartaros Legion Praetor for the Imperial Fists, and I'm still like ogling over this model. This is by far my favorite model I've painted. I need to get a painting set up so I can put more paint on plastic. That's fair. I've got a basement basically all to myself, so I've got like 2 3D printers and a whole ton of other stuff going on down here. But I've got a desk specifically to myself for this. But yeah, I love this guy. This is my favorite model I've painted this year. I just think he's so freaking cool, and I can't wait to play him on tabletop at some point. So yeah. I'm going to keep painting him until he's absolutely beautiful, like showroom beautiful. But he's not there yet. Eventually he will be. I need to reorganize my room so I can paint without being bothered. That's definitely a big one. Use that as motivation. New cat. Aw, that's adorable. You should train. They have hoodies now that have like a pouch behind the kangaroo pouch, and you can actually like let your pet cat nestle in there. So you should definitely do that. Get the hoodie, nestle with cat, paint, enjoy life. That being said, I'm really sorry I gotta go now, guys, but it's like 6:40 where I am. He'd eat the hoodie. That's fair. When I got a kitten, when I was in high school, he eats everything. Spray it in lemon juice and see if he eats the lemon juice. I don't know. I have no idea what I'm talking about. But thank you for joining. I really appreciate it, guys. It was really cool seeing all of you here. Your cat likes lemon juice. That's amazing. You tried, but he still does. So this is my next project. I'm actually going to put a hold on Rogel Dorn since he turned out so good immediately. And I'm going to go back to painting this. This is a Primaris Invader ATV, which you guys are probably familiar with. It was a gift from Mr. Red. And this is going to be the Puma from Red vs. Blue. I'm going to paint Griff and Simmons, and they are going to be riding around on the Puma. I'm eventually going to turn this into like a diorama of it like launching over as I have two other Marines running for their life, which are going to be Church and Tucker. He doesn't like Pepsi, jalapenos, and animal crackers. Shotgun! Fuck! You got it first. Okay, that being said, guys, I gotta go. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Give me a follow if you wanna hear notifications. I try and stream around 4:30, 5 o'clock Eastern time, so about an hour and a half ago, if not a little more. But I will see you all later. I hope you have a great rest of the day. Oh yeah, who can I raid? I always forget to do that, and it's mainly because, to be honest, I don't have enough people to make it worth raiding. Let's see, who else is doing anything Warhammer related? Is anyone doing anything else? Ooh, Morg Minis is doing something. Studio J is doing... Oh, Studio J is doing stuff, so I'm going to go ahead and raid Studio J. And let's see, I don't remember how to do this. I'm going to give it a shot. /raid Studio J.
As I said, you don't have to, you can fully assemble it and then just...
And let's see if that'll work. Is that how you do a raid? I don't raid often enough. Okay, yes, that's how it's raiding.
Having something that is either slightly painted.
Okie dokie, guys. I'll see you later. Have a good one, and
Really
goodbye.
hidden by
Right now.
piece of plastic. So it really is totally up to you. Who's the little guy?